Okie dokie. We are back for Roundtable Rams episode 5. I am once again joined by my co-host Billy Melissa, and we are going to talk all about Rams football. And we have a lot to talk about because a whole lot happened last night during the NFL Honors celebration. So,
Who
first and
knew this
foremost,
could change so much in just one night?
I know. First and foremost, at the top of the list here, Matthew Stafford won league MVP for the very first time in his 17-year career. Honestly, it's kind of strange that it's taken him this long. The dude's been a baller since he came into the league, regardless of the fact that he was playing for the Detroit Lions when they were a literal mess. He has been one of the best quarterbacks in my opinion. 5,000 passing yards and wasn't even, he's only made the Pro Bowl 3 times in his career, which is, again, I don't understand how, um, but
I
doesn't
know.
matter.
I mean, Joe Flacco's there for the first time this year.
I don't look, it's so bizarre to me that Matthew Stafford has barely won MVP and that he's only been a Pro Bowler 3 times in his career. And let's see, 5,000 passing yards in 2011, nearly 5,000 in 2012. He's gone from 2011 to 2017, he got over 4,000 passing yards. To be fair, his interceptions were crazy, so obviously that's probably why. But whatever. Let's just whatever.
I mean, look, he did a great job this year. If there was any year to give it to him, glad that he could be honored this year. That's crazy. 17 years in the league. He's been that guy. Like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, at least now he's got his flowers.
Yeah, and even crazier than him winning the MVP is he won the MVP by one first place vote. One. Drake May was right behind him on the voting, and it could have been Drake May. And
I'm not sure about this Drake May business, right? Because I've seen like some of those playoff games. I'm like, really?
I
Really?
couldn't agree more with you. And honestly, like this is besides the fact that, I am not a fan of the Patriots, but I think it's crazy. So it was Matthew Stafford got 24 first place votes, and Drake May got 23. It was only one vote, and weirdly, somebody voted for Justin Herbert. So
Hey, look, you can't all be unanimous MVPs.
look, look, all right. I don't know who the hell voted for Justin Herbert. I don't know what they're smoking, but that's crazy. Like Josh Allen 2 votes. Okay, sure, yeah, Josh Allen should have got some votes, but Justin Herbert won. Who the hell vote? Anyway, whatever.
Look, last year was enough for me to know that there's just some mess going on over there. There's none of my business. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I trust those votes anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, so 4,707 passing yards, 46 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 109.2 passer rating. And also he led the league in yards per game. He led the league in total passing yards, total passing touchdowns, and his passing touchdowns and his passer rating were career highs. Honestly, like Matthew Stafford was a baller in 2025. We saw that throughout the entire season. The Rams fell short, unfortunately. We're
Just
bested, just fell short to the Seattle Seahawks, and they're not going to the Super Bowl. They could have easily gone to the Super Bowl in the sense of like they were that second NFC team.
they were right
Um,
there.
they were right there, and you know it's all right. Matthew Stafford won league MVP. He deserved it. Everybody knew he deserved it. There wasn't one person watching this season that should have been like, "Hey, it's not. This is not the guy." Again, I'm with you on Drake May. Drake, don't. This is nothing against Drake May. He's a great quarterback, but I think Drake May benefited a lot from Vrabel and benefited a lot from
Coach of the year, Vrabel.
yeah, coach of the year, Mike Vrabel. Obviously there's so many factors and we can get into the nitty-gritty of it, but I don't think it should have been separated by one vote. I think Matthew Stafford should
No.
have been overwhelmingly the MVP candidate there. But whatever, he won. That's all that matters.
He took home that trophy and made a lovely little announcement alongside it, which Rams fans can be excited about.
Yes, yes. Speaking of that, that's a great segue, great jump right into it. We were waiting to hear what was going to happen with Matthew Stafford. Sean McVay spoke in the during his end of season press conference while he was on vacation that he was giving Matthew Stafford the time to make a decision about his future if he was going to come back for his 18th season, 2026. And then general manager Les Snead also echoed that same sentiment. He said that he had very productive conversations with Stafford, but that he was also giving him the time to decide, which it's Matthew Stafford. Of course, you don't want to force him into, you have to play, you have to come back, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of his closing statement with his four daughters on stage, which was absolutely adorable, Matthew
Mm.
Stafford said, "I can't wait for you. I can't wait to be back out there kicking ass." And everybody started cheering. They showed Kyron Williams. They showed Puka in the crowd. They were going crazy because nobody knew that Matthew Stafford was going to announce that he was
Did Matthew
returning.
Stafford know he was returning until we got up there and he was like, man, I'm not ready to give this up just
Could
yet.
be. I mean, he could have decided in that moment at that time, screw it. I'm going to say that I'm coming back because of the feeling that he had from A, winning his MVP. And like, look how close the Rams got. I mean,
You could taste it. It was right there.
they're still in that championship window. I fully believe that he was going to be back. There was never a doubt in my mind that he
Hmm.
wouldn't come back simply because of how close they got in 2025. And also, they're still there. The
Yeah.
players are still there. That core is still there. And there's no reason to not come back out. Obviously, Stafford has dealt with injuries over the past few seasons. He's had back issues. He had back issues earlier in the offseason in 2025. There was concerns that he wouldn't even be able to play a full season. He obviously quelled that and was able to do so and won the MVP.
Yeah.
But to go from I'm going to win the MVP to not wanting to get back out there, it just seemed like it would be a ridiculous notion that he would retire.
Yeah, coming that close and it's right there. And like you said, like we said before, it wasn't just like a takedown from the Seahawks. They gave them a run for their money for the most part. And so when it's right there and you can really taste it and it's the heat of the moment and everyone's cheering you on and you're like, I'm that guy in the league and I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you why you gave me this award. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it all over again. Just you wait.
And I agree, and I think that's exactly what happened. And that's a very interesting thing to think about too. Is if did he decide right then and there
Did
that
he?
that
We
was
don't know.
we
Someone's got
don't
to get
know.
to the bottom of that. I'm sure he'll have some because I don't know. Was Sean McVay like what? Wasn't prepared for this now, So yeah, I like to hear the story about how he come to make that decision.
Sean McVay was in the crowd too, and I'm sure he didn't even know. Like I don't think anybody knew but Matthew Stafford in that moment. And then maybe Matthew Stafford didn't know until Matthew Stafford knew when he stepped on that stage to accept his
I
MVP
think
award.
so.
You
I
know,
like that story the best, so I'm gonna, in my
you
imagination,
know.
that's how it went down.
I'm gonna roll with it because I love that too. I love the idea of him stepping on stage, hearing the cheers, picking his MVP award in his hand, his four daughters right there, and he's like, you know what? I'm coming
I'm
back.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
And
makes for a great. It's like the great opening sequence of the movie of next season.
you know, I agree. I agree. And he's getting older. He's 38, 17 years in the league, 18th season he's coming back for. Your window is shrunk down pretty low now. He probably has two good seasons left in him. If he was already kind of wanting to retire. I'm not saying that he can't play at a high level and keep doing it. I'm sure
I
he
mean,
could.
Aaron Rodgers is still out there, so.
Right, but Aaron Rodgers isn't playing like Matthew Stafford is
Well, I'm
playing.
saying exactly just that. Like he's still out there and he's not playing up to par, is he?
Right,
So,
right. So I mean, yeah, I think you stay out there until you ride this thing until the wheels fall off, until you
why
cannot
not?
play. And why not? That's what most players do. I mean, obviously a lot of players say they want to retire from the game. They don't want the game to retire them. And it's really up to the health of Matthew Stafford. Like I said, he's dealt with multiple injuries over the last few seasons. Um, and but he still showed that he can play. He played all 17 games. He didn't miss one game. He played a hell of a season. Arguably the best season of his career. I know I'd said that he got 5,000 passing yards, but that was also coupled with 41 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. So, yeah, he got
Yeah.
five more touchdowns and half as much interceptions and 300 more yards. He would have been there. So, yeah, this is the best season
Hmm.
in his career. Obviously, he's an MVP now.
Yeah.
But speaking of Les Snead and speaking of the roster and everything, Les Snead did make a point in saying that he obviously wasn't sure that Matthew Stafford was going to return, but he made it a point to say that they were going to have a plan in place if he did.
Hmm.
Now, we can decipher that as whatever, but it's pretty evident what he meant by that. And for me personally, I think that means you got to go offensive line in that draft. The Rams have two first round picks, by way of the Falcons because of a trade they made last season. So now they're in a prime position to really bolster that offensive line, which obviously you need to do for Matthew Stafford. Um, you know, um,
Yeah, I hear that. And I think also they've got all the pieces. I mean, you don't need a running back, don't really need receivers. Tight ends, maybe a fullback to kind of boost that running game a little bit more. I mean, what more do you need to really give Matthew Stafford that? I mean, you're already looking at his season. It's not like he's struggling to like get yards or anything. So, what better to just give him a bit more time to, show off his magic.
yeah, definitely. I mean, he was sacked 23 times, which I don't believe is anywhere near that much. Let me see. Let me use the power of the internet to find out who was sacked the most. Let's see.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Lamar. I feel like it
It
might have been Josh Allen.
it was
Like,
Geno Smith actually, 55,
oh,
and
okay.
Cam Ward 55, and Justin Herbert 54. Whew. So, at yeah, so Matthew Stafford was the 23rd most sacked quarterback. So it's not like the offensive line was playing
They're not in
terribly.
need, but if you can just fill it out a little bit more, why not?
You got to get those younger guys in there because right now, so Rob Havenstein, he's also another player that he was hurt all of 2025, and they talked to him. Les Snead talked to him, and McVay talked to him currently, and they're giving him the same amount, the same grace as they were giving Stafford. You decide if you want to come back because he's also been in the league 12 years. So
Hmm.
13th year, that's a long time for offensive linemen.
Mm.
And you're up there in age as well. So they need to figure out if he's going to come back. And then the other one is Steve Avila, who he's a contract you need to figure out, and he's an older player as well that you need to figure out if he's going to come back. And with those two in mind, that's already two starters on the offensive line. Sorry, Steve Avila is only 26; he's not that old, but he's due a contract.
Yeah, by O-line standards. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it's going to be hard when you want to switch up some, or if, until we figured out kind of what the situation is there. You don't want to upset the chemistry. You don't want to upset what's working. To be, 23rd least most sacked in the league, then, you kind of just really have to figure out if someone doesn't come back, if we can't renew those contracts, then who's going to fill that hole? And if it is the vet, then, you need someone to kind of slot right in there next to him.
yeah, definitely. And again, they have two first round picks, which you would imagine they're going to do something offensive. And then they obviously there's stuff they need to fix on the defense as well. But especially like I said, the O line, like you said, I mean, they have Kyron Williams, they have Blake Corum. You have a dual threat uh running back in Kyron Williams already, and then you got Blake Corum, who's a really tough downhill runner. You have the running back situation figured out, wide receivers figured out. You got Puka Nacua, who's arguably the best receiver in the league, even though Jackson Smith and Jigba won Offensive Player of the Year. Obviously, that he was well deserving of that. But then you have Devontae Adams, who had 14 touchdowns, led the league in touchdowns. He was a big red zone target, but obviously he's also getting older, and his hamstring injury kept him out. But regardless of that, you still have those two. Maybe you need to bolster the wide receiver room a little bit more. I mean, they were focusing on a lot of the younger pass catchers this past season, and
Yeah.
they're probably still going to be doing the same thing. There's a youth movement. Very slow, like Kanata Mumfield, Xavier Smith.
Hmm.
Those are two names to look at. Jordan Whittington, kind of showing up there a little bit. But maybe you need to bolster that a little bit. But in my opinion, on offense, the main thing, I mean, because even in you brought up the tight end room, but you got Colby Parkinson, Tyler Higbee came back, he was hurt, and then you have Terrence Ferguson. All three of those guys are really good, and so
Yeah.
really, in my opinion, the only thing that you really need to bolster for the most part, obviously you have to look at contracts and who's going to be a free agent and all that, but it's the offensive line.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. And I think that really you're just looking at who can kind of give you more time with those other guys. Like if you get another great receiver out of college, then that kind of divides up the coverage and who's going to, go where.
Mhm.
Fullback, I always think is an undervalued position. It's something that's really important if you're a running first team. I don't know what their situation is there, though. I don't know if they've got like, I mean, obviously it works because the yardage between Williams and Corum last season was great. But if they can even just elevate that a little bit further, and I think like when you have all those pieces and you're kind of spoiled, like all you're really doing is looking for guys who can just kind of elevate it and make it a little bit more difficult for defenses to go up against.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's kind of the idea between Colby Parkinson, Higbee, and Ferguson is I think that they're pseudo fullbacks in those moments.
Hmm.
They help with blocking, which is again, you have a really strong tight end unit, you have a really strong running back unit, you have a really strong wide receiver unit. Offensive line, that's where the questions kind of come into play a little bit. But that's why they got so close to going to the Super Bowl is because they have those playmakers on that side of the ball. You just need to maybe they do need to bring in a traditional fullback. I don't know.
Yep. I know people undervalue it, and I see wonders it does in Baltimore with Pat Ricard and Derek Henry. You know, when those relationships are really good, and when there is a guy who can kind of just make that massive gap. Like imagine Williams and Corum just get. I mean, they don't need any more help because they did have the seasons that they had. But you know, if you can just elevate that, why not? And when, like we're saying, there's no like massive need on the offense other than perhaps filling out some offensive holes. Then you know.
Yep. Yeah, the Dolphins have Alec Ingold, and he was very instrumental in getting Devon Achane to where he was at in this past season. So, yeah, I agree. I think fullback is a really important, undervalued position. And, Kyle Kuchtek on the 49ers is also another
Yeah.
one. He's fantastic, and he's been all pro like almost every year. But maybe you want to flirt with that idea, or, the tight ends remain in that kind of position. But in terms of not on the offensive side of the ball, more defensive side of the ball. One of the biggest holes that the Rams currently have is a secondary.
Hmm.
That's a major reason that the Rams defense suffered in 2025 was their secondary. There was injuries there. Cam Curl is there. You got Kobe Durant. You got Kinchins, you got Williams, but Emmanuel Forbes was hurt. Like Darion Kedrick was hurt, and now you have Quentin Lake. Quentin Lake
Yeah,
was
they just
hurt.
re-signed him, right?
Yeah, and Akella Witherspoon got hurt twice. Was put back on IR from a shoulder injury. I mean, there's a lot of questions in that secondary right now. And you got Cam Curl and you got Akella Witherspoon and Roger McCreary, who are all becoming unrestricted free agents in 2026. So you have to decide, are those guys going to be worth it? Both Roger McCreary and Akella Witherspoon both missed half the season, or more than half. They were in 6 games each. So
Hmm.
do you want to bring those guys back? Do you want to give them another shot or do you move on? And if you do move on, who are you going to go and take? Because then you have to start targeting that upper echelon cornerback and or safety in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good position for them to be in if that is their one focus need and they really do just need to bolster it out. And like you said, 2 first-round picks, if you do just want to go for a cornerback or safety, maybe just to bulk it out a little bit. Like, I mean, they seem to be in the most fortunate position coming into this draft with an MVP quarterback, an offensive situation that's great. You know, defense for the most part has been good. That's why Chris Schuler's kind of is going around trying out
Hmm.
head coaching positions. I think that like they can only get better by just picking up a couple extra guys who, you know, can kind of be those backups for the people when they do go out injured.
Yeah, and obviously the secondary, regardless of the contracts that are coming due that they need to figure out, there needs to be a boost there. 276 yards per game. They were the fourth worst in the league on in passing games passing yards per game average. That's horrible. That's horrible for a
Hmm.
defense. And you could put blame on that. You could say that's what it was or that's what it wasn't, whatever. But the stats don't lie. The stats are right
Yeah.
there. That was clearly the biggest weakness for the Rams defense because we definitely know it's not the pass rush. They got so many good guys there on the pass rush. They got um, Byron Young. They got so many guys that they depend on in the pass rush, and the pass rush was great.
Hmm.
Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, you got Puna Ford. Nate Landman was coming up. You got Jared Verse.
Yeah,
I
and just
mean,
been re-signed as well, I think, Landman.
yep. And
Sorted out.
and so yeah, the pass rush is there, but the secondary obviously needs a lot of help. And Yeah, I mean you got to go and bolster that unit. And Snead did say that that wasn't a position group they were going to attack in the upcoming weeks and days. So
Mhm.
obviously they're going to be doing their evaluations on Senior Bowl prospects as well as looking at who they can go for in the draft and then free agency. There's usually a lot of cornerbacks that you can go and find in free agency. So
Yeah, I think Marlon Humphrey might be. I don't know if he's
I don't
necessarily the
know if
kind of
that's the route they
guy
want to
that
go.
they want to go, but hey, when he's good, he's good, all right?
I mean,
Marlon gets a
maybe,
lot of stick, and I think that, when he's good, he's good. This season, not so
maybe,
great.
yeah. I mean, maybe a change of scenery.
Hey, look, I think sometimes the warm weather just warms you up and it
I
gets you going a
mean,
little bit
I
more.
mean, you
We also
know,
have to take into account the situation with them obviously having to go up against the Seahawks and the Niners every year.
yeah.
That does just make it a little bit when you've got like the JSN going up against you twice a year, that does just make it a little bit more difficult. And so they need those guys who are kind of quick and sticky and can kind of keep up with those people.
Yeah, here's a big name, and this might be a little bit of a controversial pick because he's been hurt like a lot, but he is
Mm.
going to be a free agent, and that's Trevon Diggs. So, you
Oh,
know, you know, I mean, look, again, we're talking about change of scenery. Maybe it's something, I don't know. Maybe the warm weather will.
sometimes guys do just go to other teams and they just fit in better and the scheme just works more for them and all their talents kind of come out and they've just been waiting for that coach to elevate them. So I don't like it when the guys get stuck with this is, you're not as good as you used to be or you to get
Mhm.
injured too much. Like strength and conditioning and those things like are really important and they change around the league. So
Yeah, I mean, you got Jamil Dean from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You got Jimmy Ward from the Texans, Jonathan Jones from the Commanders, uh, Amik Robertson, Kader Kohu from the Dolphins, which I truly hope the Dolphins re-sign, but he's also a name to look out for because he was also hurt, has been hurt. So, you have to maybe you take a flyer on one of those injured players and see what happens, but I don't know.
mm,
But there's options obviously there, and again, like we keep bringing up, the Rams have two first round picks, so that right
yeah,
there is gold in and of itself, where you can go and get. I think their pick right now is number 13. Let me see.
nice place to be
Yeah, it's not a
near
bad
the
place to
top.
be. Exactly, you're in the top 15, and then you have. Let's see. Let me double check. Yeah, they're number 13 overall from the Falcons. And then they are also number 29. So you look at that, maybe you go that upper echelon cornerback or offensive
Hmm.
lineman at that number 13 and 29, trade that back and then go and get more second, third round picks, whatever. And then you just start, bolstering that. I mean, Les Snead is great at what he does. Obviously, we've seen how he
Yeah.
builds his roster. So there's no, it's not like he's going to miss for the most part.
No, I mean, that I think of, like we said multiple times, just in a wonderful position this off season. They're not really having to kind of figure out, especially now they know they have Matthew Stafford back. They don't have to worry about the quarterback situation this year. So with those two picks, they can just go and double use them, or they can use them to trade around and kind of see what they can get for it. I don't see why they can't build out that secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, they should. Secondary and offensive line should be the top. That's all they should be going for. Obviously, you're gonna, it's a great point that you made though. With Stafford coming back, you do not have to waste that pick on like Ty Simpson or whatever, and then you can
No,
wait until
especially with
20.
next year being the situation that it is.
Exactly, and then you look at Dante Moore, and then you look at Arch Manning, and you look at all the other candidates that are supposed to be coming out in 2027, which everybody says that class of quarterbacks is better. Obviously,
Mm.
nobody can say that for sure because
You don't know until
you
they
don't know
get
how
in the
anyone's going
league.
to perform at the NFL level. But the point being, that gives the Rams a really good buffer to then use those picks to bolster those two units, offensive line, secondary, and then see what else they can do free agency wise. And obviously, they have multiple players that are going to become free agents on their side, so they have to figure that part out too.
And they got to figure out who's coordinating them over there on defense.
Yes, which is the other major thing going on. So Mike LaFleur, I was honestly very shocked that he
He
left.
pieced out.
Yeah, and he was the Cardinals were the last ones to hire their head coach. It went Clint Kubiak and with the Raiders, and then I was on a boat and I was like, oh my God, Mike LaFleur just got hired by the Cardinals, and then I wrote the article because I was there, but.
He said, "See ya, I'm out of here."
Yeah, so that was honestly very shocking. I didn't think that he was all the way up for a head coach position. Not that he wasn't interviewing, but I don't know. I didn't think that he was going to leave, but he's gone. Now not
Yeah,
only is he,
division rival too. Very
yeah,
upsetting.
not only is he gone, but now he's with the Arizona Cardinals, which Sean McVay said he's excited because he gets to face him twice a year. Which I mean,
Yeah.
I think he was just saying that. I don't think he's excited at all. But
No, the last thing you want is a guy who's kind of been around your building to know what's going on. So,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And LaFleur has been instrumental for the Rams' success over these past few seasons, especially with Matthew Stafford. And now they have to find a new offensive coordinator. And the bummer part about all of this is something that we've talked about on our other pods, is because the Cardinals took so damn long to hire their head
yep.
coach, all of the other good coordinators have already been hired by other teams. And I'm
That
not
talent's
saying
gone.
yeah, and I'm not
Wow.
saying that there's not still good coaches that the Rams can pick from. Sean McVay did say that they would go on an exhaustive search, and that would include in-house candidates. Which,
Yeah.
again, the Rams are really great when it comes. They're great. The Rams through and through are great talent
Yeah.
evaluators. So I don't think they're going to run into any kind of issue where they're not going to be able to find a good coach to be offensive coordinator. But in the sense of like they could have got one of those great coordinators like a Mike McDaniel or somebody of that nature to then come over. That's the bummer part.
Yeah, they would have been a tempting candidate if that position was open earlier. Obviously, now loads of those jobs are filled around the league. And so, I mean, like you said, they got great in-house talent. They've got Nate Skilhasi,
Yeah.
who was kind of going around the league for head coaching jobs. That's a guy right there already to, plug and play and see how that goes. I don't think that they're going to struggle to fill that position, and I don't think that whoever ends up there is going to have to, because obviously McVay calls his offensive plays anyway, so
Yeah.
you kind of just need a guy who is happy to kind of fit into that situation and be under McVay like that.
No, again, that's a really great point. They do have Nathan Shalisi. I don't know how to say his last name.
It seems like skill has, but I don't know. We'll
Shalisi,
see.
Skelhassi. You know what?
Skill
We're
something.
we're really sorry if we're mispronouncing his last
Sorry.
name. But
Yeah.
the point being, yeah, he was up for head coach positions. He was up for
Yeah.
offensive coordinator positions, and he's still with the Rams. So that's a good in-house candidate that they can then promote, and then they move on from there. Which their guys taking care of their guys. He knows the offense very well. Been there for Stafford as well, so because he's
Yeah.
been the
With
passing
Stafford
game.
coming back, you kind of don't really want to, especially if it is going to be his last year or second to last year, you don't really want to just be finding someone who's not necessarily connected to your tree, which I'm sure he would be able to, but I think an in-house candidate seems the best option here.
I agree 100%. I think that's why McVay led with that as opposed to saying like, oh, we're gonna go find. So he said there's a lot of in-house candidates, and then he said they would still do an exhaustive search, which you know, like,
He might
sure,
just find that guy who gets it, but you don't want to mess with something that's working. When it's working like that and you don't need to change anything, like you don't really want to bring in someone new.
yeah, and he's worked with under Michael Furr, so he knows, you know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
knows what's going on. And yeah, I don't think you rock the boat either. I think you try to keep as much stability as you can within the way that they can, because obviously, losing Mike LaFleur is huge,
Mhm.
huge, huge loss. But, you know, um,
Next man up.
next man up, exactly.
Gotta be
But
done.
and it's yeah, it just sucks though because if that had happened previous, the Rams would have obviously been a top spot for any offensive
For
coordinator.
sure.
Like
Absolutely.
I would have 100% if it happened previous, I would have 100% bet on Mike McDaniel going to the Rams as opposed to the
I
Chargers.
mean, why not? Him and McVay have such a great history together. Why would you not want to just head on over there and see? I mean, Matthew Stafford's a great. I think loads of people would have been hankering after an opportunity to be part
Yeah,
of that.
yeah, definitely. But that's a big what if, and obviously Mike McDaniel in the run game too. Like imagine him being able to have both Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. Like, come on.
He would have been having a field day on the sidelines. He'd be all up in the box. He would be having a great time.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more. But I mean,
He's in the
now,
other LA team.
yeah, he's with the
Still got the
Chargers.
weather.
Yeah, he's with the Chargers now, and now the Rams are looking for the offensive coordinator. I'm sure they're gonna be hiring somebody very quickly here in the next
Yeah.
couple of weeks. Like we brought up with the other pods and all the other teams that we cover, which all of them had to do that. The
Mm-hmm.
Rams obviously didn't lose Sean McVay. Sean McVay and Les Snead just got extensions, so they are staying with the Rams for the next few years. I actually don't know how long the extension was for, but I'm sure it's at least 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
They're staying in the building. Matthew Stafford is staying in the building. The Rams are very much in that championship window. They got very very close. The Seahawks beat them, but they're there.
And they're in one of the toughest divisions in the league.
They are, but that
They
goes to
are.
show how good they
Yeah,
are because they were able to take
exactly.
down the 49ers. They were able to take down the Seahawks once. They lost twice, and that's where they're at now. But regardless, you sharpen or iron sharpens iron, as they say, and
Yep.
you're going against the best teams. The NFC, in my opinion, like as I've said before, outweighs the AFC by a great margin
This year.
in terms of talent this year. Yeah, in terms of competitiveness. So they will be back. Matthew Stafford is back. There will be a new offensive coordinator. We will be back next week to talk all about that. And maybe we'll be able to talk about who the offensive coordinator is. And maybe that will
Hopefully, I'm
mean,
sure.
yeah, and I'm sure, or rather, Nathan Shalise. Yeah. I'll figure
That
out how to
poor
say his last
guy.
name. Yeah, maybe he'll be the
Nate.
one promoted.
Yeah.
But we will be back. This has been Roundtable Rams episode 5. Thank you, Billy, for joining me once again. And we will be back next week to talk all about what's going on with the Rams. And hopefully, it's going to be that new offensive coordinator we can discuss.